I'm a venture capitalist and I have a vision for Bitcoin. I am looking at Bitcoin as a way, I'm hoping for a time when I can raise money in Bitcoin, invest it into a bunch of different companies in Bitcoin, have all of them pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, keep it all on the blockchain, and have the whole operation run as a smart contract. So everybody's paid in Bitcoin, everybody runs their business in Bitcoin, all the accounting is done in Bitcoin, all the taxes are paid in Bitcoin. I am looking forward to that time. So I'm starting with that. How did I get into Bitcoin? There was a Korean guy who came to me and started telling me about how half of South Korea was involved in this game called Lineage, where they actually had sort of digital money. And it made me start thinking about digital money back in 2002. And when Bitcoin came out in 2011, I was on it right away. And I bought some Bitcoin and I was very excited about the Bitcoin I bought. And then Mt. Gox disappeared that money. And I thought, oh, too bad. That was the end of that digital money. I was all excited about digital money. It was going to be open and transparent and global and all that. Well, turns out that Bitcoin didn't disappear on the news that the biggest trading business on Bitcoin was had basically stolen or disappeared the money. Well, at that point, I thought, whoa, people must really need this. They must really be looking for a way to use this. And I thought, well, maybe it was that criminal activity everybody's been talking about in the news. And it turns out, well, the criminals were all getting caught because Bitcoin keeps perfect records. So everybody knows what moves in and out of that blockchain. But what people were using it for were sending money overseas, using it where there was no banking involved, there was no banker, where people were unbanked, they were trading in Bitcoin, they were using it for micropayments where they could pay lots of people small amounts of money in small pieces. And that was enlightening to me. And so I started to buy Bitcoin. And then when the US Marshal's Office came up and said, we have 9 lots of 3,000 Bitcoin each, I thought, well, okay, well, why don't I bid on some of these lots? And so I put in a bid for each of the lots. And I knew that people around me that I had talked to were all talking about what kind of a discount they would get to market. And I was thinking, discount, why not bid a premium, get the Bitcoin? Because on the downside, this is going to zero anyway. On the upside, this could be the currency of the future. And so I bid I bid 632 when market was 618. And about a year later, I looked like the stupidest investor on the planet. The market had taken it down to $180. But something in my heart made me feel like this was a good thing. This was something good for the future of mankind. I felt like we were going through almost an anthropological leap, where we were going from these fiat governments, these tribal governments that were all operating independently, and to one where we were a global economy, where these governments had to sort of compete for us. They had to provide services commensurate with the taxes they were charging, or we would move on to a government that was better. And so I looked and I thought, this is really important. And so I'm just going to stay with it. And so I stayed with it. I even bought more. I invested some into some entrepreneurs, and it turned out it cost me about 3 times the amount in accounting fees because they had to keep translating it back and forth. And fortunately, we've got a company called Cryptio now that does all the accounting in Bitcoin, and you can operate completely in Bitcoin. And people thought of it as a store of value, but I have thought of it as so much more. I have thought of Bitcoin as this incredible store of value, but this new system where we can move money anywhere around the globe. We can take it with us wherever we go. We can operate independently as global citizens. It's a really exciting time, and the technology of Bitcoin has also benefited all sorts of other industries. The blockchain has opened up a bunch of new ways for people to think. They have these NFTs that are like you can have collectibles on the blockchain, and that's exciting. But you could also an NFT can be your diploma or your nursing license or your mastery of karate. Any of these things can be a part of an NFT. So that's exciting. Anyway, there are a bunch of new technologies coming there. And then there are a lot of new technologies coming on smart contracts where you can build contracts into software so you no longer have to fight out what the wording meant. You know it's all there, it's all built in to the software. So that Bitcoin has taken much more of has created much more of a transformation than even just thinking about it as a currency. And thinking about it as a currency, there are companies like OpenNode and LastBit that are making it so a retailer can accept Bitcoin. And what they do is they take it off chain technically, and so then they can speed it up, so they can have transactions as fast as the ones that Visa has, or faster actually. And so now we can use it at retail. In fact, I just was buying a house and they wanted me to pay Bitcoin. I said, no way. And for a car, they also were willing to accept Bitcoin. And I said, no way. And then Stanford, I was giving money to Stanford, and they said, we don't want fiat, we want Bitcoin. And I said, no way. And my thinking there is just the same thinking that I get when somebody asks me, well, when are you going to sell your Bitcoin? And I say, well, why would I want to take the currency of the future and move it to the currency of the past? Why do I want to take euros and turn them into drachma or French francs? I want the currency of the future. And people say, well, but Bitcoin, isn't it very volatile? And I say, well, wait a second. One Bitcoin is still worth one Bitcoin. But over time, these fiat currencies are going to be very volatile as they slowly disappear from our use. And I think we are moving to a new form of currency. And it's not just Bitcoin. There are all these other cryptocurrencies that do specific things. Tezos and Polkadot are very good for smart contracts. Aragon is really good for kind of creating a new form of democracy, a liquid democracy that will probably take off in other countries. And so some of these currencies are doing really extraordinary things. So I think we're at a really interesting time. And people have said, well, what do you think Bitcoin's going to be worth? Well, they're really listening, because back in 2014, I said, and Bitcoin was about $600. I said, Bitcoin's going to be 10,000 in 3 years. And sure enough, in 2017, it hit 10,000. And then in 2017, they say, okay, make another prediction. Well, I made that prediction, and I said 250,000 by 2022, end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. And they looked at me like, because that was Bitcoin had dropped off from 10,000 to about 4,000 when I made that prediction. And they looked at me like a little skeptically. And now Bitcoin's hovering around 60,000 and they're saying, huh, it's within striking distance. And then I think it's going to go from there because we've got so many new uses, new sources, and new ways of operating Bitcoin. Lucasfilm will be able to pay their, the assistant to the lighting director in Bitcoin, and there will be trust built into that system. And trust is so important. Trust was very important as Singapore was the poorest country in the world, or one of them, and Lee Kuan Yew took over and he built trust into that country. And now Singapore is probably the most trusted country in the world, and it's also one of the richest. And so trust builds wealth. Trust from the top in governments, trust from all of the other, in all of business, it just builds wealth. And so we have now a trusted currency. We now have a currency that's not tied to that what used to be the trusted third party, the banker, who wears a very nice suit and works in those very wonderful, beautiful glass and steel buildings. We now don't need them. It's a really interesting time because we now can operate, or we will be able to operate our worlds without fiat. And fiat is controlled by governments. And if you feel like your government is controlling you too much, well, this is a great opportunity to become be a part of this new global society. I think we've got a unique, it's a unique time in history. It's a unique time in the future. This is one of the most exciting times I've ever seen in the history of venture capital to be an investor, because so much is happening around Bitcoin and the blockchain and smart contracts and artificial intelligence, and they are transforming our world in a way that none of us has ever predicted. So I feel like, people ask me, well, what do you advise somebody to do? Well, I'll just tell you what I did. I keep enough fiat currency to make sure I can make my capital calls and I can take care of my family and operate my life and keep my business going. And then the rest just goes into Bitcoin. The stock market seems a little heated, but there are going to be some shining stars coming out. We're very excited that both Coinbase and Robinhood, two of the companies I got going as a very early investor, are coming public. I think that's going to be very exciting, and I look forward to seeing all the other great things that are going to come out of this new evolutionary, I guess, transition to a new way of operating, a way of life. And I want to put in a word for freedom too. I think freedom and trust are really what build a great country. Just as Singapore was a big success, so was South Korea, and South Korea was the free country, and North Korea was the socialist dictatorship. And the average South Korean now makes about 460 times as much as the average North Korean, and now they're 4 inches taller. It's been about 3 generations. I think freedom really works, and it allows people this ability to think, I can go build something of value and keep it. In a lot of these countries where you don't have that trust and freedom, governments come in and they take things of value. Well, if you have the feeling you can build something of value and keep it, you'll build much more interesting things. And we see that in entrepreneurship all the way across the board. Well, thank you for having me. I wish you all the best and really enjoy this new world that's coming forward.